Emperor Tupandactylus, the flying flame of the Cretaceous sky. Most people think the story of pterosaurs begins and ends with giant monsters like Quetzalcoatlus. But long before those sky giants appeared, another flying reptile was already turning heads, both in the prehistoric world and in modern science. Its name was Tupandactylus imperator. And unlike most pterosaurs ever discovered, it didn't become famous because it was the biggest. It became famous because it completely shattered what scientists thought pterosaurs looked like. For decades, people imagined pterosaurs as bald, leathery flying reptiles, essentially dragons without feathers. Then Tupandactylus arrived and changed everything. Its fossils revealed a creature so strange, so colorful, and so different that scientists spent years arguing about what it actually was. In the end, the debate became so intense that researchers created an entirely new genus just for this animal. That's how unusual it was. The story began in northeastern Brazil, inside the famous Santana Formation, one of the richest fossil sites on Earth. When paleontologists uncovered the skull, they immediately knew they were looking at something extraordinary. The head seemed absurdly oversized. Massive bony structures rose from the skull like the frame of a giant sail. Nothing looked normal. At first, researchers assumed it belonged to a known group called Tapejara. The skull looked somewhat similar, so the fossil was given the name Tapejara imperator, meaning Emperor Tapejara. But appearances can be deceiving. As more fossils were studied and better technology became available, scientists realized they had made a mistake. The similarities were only superficial. The skull structure was different, the crest was different, the neck anatomy was different. Even key features of the skeleton pointed toward a completely separate evolutionary path. After years of study, the animal received a new identity. It became Tupandactylus imperator. The name comes from Tupá, a thunder god from the mythology of Brazil's indigenous Tupi people. It was a fitting name for a creature that seemed designed to dominate the skies. Tupandactylus lived around 112 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous period. That means it appeared nearly 50 million years before Quetzalcoatlus. In many ways, it was one of the pioneers of an earlier age of pterosaur evolution. Although it wasn't gigantic by pterosaur standards, it was still impressive. Its wingspan reached between 4 and 5 meters. That's wider than many modern cars. Yet despite that size, it weighed only around 25 to 35 kilograms, roughly the weight of a child. Like other pterosaurs, its skeleton was built for flight. Its bones were hollow, reinforced internally by delicate struts that provided strength while keeping weight extremely low. Nature had essentially built a flying machine out of living tissue. But impressive wings were not what made Tupandactylus famous. Its head did. The skull alone measured up to 70 centimeters long. For an animal barely 2 meters in body length, that is enormous. And sitting on top of that skull was one of the most bizarre structures ever evolved by a flying animal: its crest. The crest wasn't just large, it was gigantic. In some individuals, the crest was actually larger than the skull itself. Thin sheets of soft tissue stretched between long bony supports, creating a towering structure that may have stood nearly a meter tall. Imagine carrying a billboard on your head while flying. That is essentially what Tupandactylus was doing. For years, scientists struggled to understand why evolution would create something so extreme. At first glance, it seems completely impractical. Why would a flying animal carry such a massive ornament? The answer may be the same reason peacocks carry enormous tails today. Display. The larger and more colorful the crest, the more attractive the animal may have appeared to potential mates. In other words, Tupandactylus may have been one of the prehistoric world's greatest show-offs. But the crest likely served other purposes as well. Researchers believe it may have helped individuals recognize one another from long distances. It could have acted as a visual communication signal. Some scientists have even suggested it may have helped regulate body temperature by releasing excess heat. Whatever its exact function, one thing is certain: the crest was not an accident. It was one of the defining features of the species. And then came an even bigger surprise. For over a century, pterosaurs were commonly depicted as naked flying reptiles. That image changed dramatically when researchers examined exceptionally preserved Tupandactylus fossils. The fossils contained evidence of tiny feather-like structures covering parts of the body and crest. This discovery helped settle one of the biggest debates in paleontology. Pterosaurs were not bald. They possessed complex filament-like coverings that served functions similar to feathers. Some were simple hair-like filaments, others showed branching patterns surprisingly close to true feathers. The implications were enormous. Suddenly, pterosaurs appeared far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. And scientists weren't finished yet. Using microscopic structures known as melanosomes, researchers were able to estimate the colors of the crest itself. The results were spectacular. Rather than dull gray or brown, Tupandactylus may have displayed brilliant shades of red, orange, and gold. Under the sunlight of the early Cretaceous, its crest may have looked like a living flame soaring across the sky. Imagine standing beside a tropical lagoon 112 million years ago. Above you glides a 4-meter flying reptile crowned with a blazing orange-red crest. Its feather-like covering catches the sunlight. Its silhouette stands out against the blue sky, less like a reptile and more like a living fantasy creature. Its lifestyle was equally fascinating. Unlike giant pterosaurs that specialized in hunting large prey, Tupandactylus appears to have been far more versatile. It lacked teeth entirely. Instead, it possessed a strong beak, capable of handling a variety of foods. Scientists believe it probably fed on fruits, seeds, nuts, insects, small reptiles, and occasionally fish. This flexibility may have helped it thrive in the diverse ecosystems of ancient Brazil. Its eyesight was likely excellent. Its head structure suggests a wide field of vision, allowing it to monitor both predators and food sources while flying. And flight itself was one of its greatest strengths. Its wings were supported by an enormously elongated fourth finger, one of the defining features of all pterosaurs. A thin but durable membrane stretched between the finger and the body, forming an efficient wing. Powerful flight muscles allowed rapid takeoffs and controlled gliding. Researchers estimate that it could reach speeds of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, while covering considerable distances with minimal effort. Despite its aerial abilities, Tupandactylus was not a permanent resident of the sky. Like modern birds, it spent time on the ground. It likely walked on all fours, using its folded wings as forelimbs. Near lakes, rivers, and coastal environments, it searched for food, rested, and nested. During breeding seasons, males probably displayed their spectacular crests to attract females. Entire colonies may have transformed into colorful airborne displays unlike anything alive today. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about Tupandactylus is not its size. It isn't among the largest pterosaurs, it isn't among the deadliest, and it certainly isn't the most powerful. Yet it remains one of the most scientifically important. Every major discovery connected to this animal has forced researchers to rethink old assumptions. It challenged how scientists classified pterosaurs. It helped prove that pterosaurs possessed feather-like coverings. It revealed evidence of complex coloration, and it showed that prehistoric flying reptiles were far more diverse and visually striking than anyone once believed. From a fossil that was initially misidentified to one of the most iconic pterosaurs ever discovered, Tupandactylus transformed our understanding of life in the ancient skies. It may not have ruled through size, but through beauty, complexity, and scientific importance, it earned a different title. Not the largest king of the skies, but perhaps the most unforgettable. And more than 100 million years after its last flight, the emperor of the Cretaceous sky is still teaching us how little we truly know about the prehistoric world.